in this thing, which will be lying around later, is a funny little image. And this image is a bunch of animals carrying a dead hunter through the woods. And it's a really wonderful old woodcut from 1850 from Mahler's First Symphony, where there's the music for Frere Jacques, you know, wake up, is played backward or in minor, so that it's the sound of the dead hunter, and he's falling asleep. He's being carried into the forest of the afterlife by all the animals who are very serious about their duty to carry him to the afterlife, even though, of course, he tried to kill them all the time. And there's something about that sort of peculiar processionary world here. There's all these strange little characters all lined up here, and all lined up here, and these are sort of animals as musical instruments, as little living things, heading into the dark here. And somehow, sort of at either end, we've got portrait of the artist as a young man and portrait of the artist as an old man.
And it's interesting, if I could interrupt, the scale of when he brought his work in, he just was going to bring these two, portrait of the artist as a young man and portrait of the artist as an old man. And he was describing the piece to me, and he said, actually, that's anti-fantasy, isn't it? He says he always, whenever he brings work to a show, he always brings the opposite of the theme. So then I said, well, yeah, it's true, it's kind of anti-fantasy. So then I said, just look for something in your collection with animals. We are running out of time. So I just
there's nothing on here.
I just thought the reality of curating is not always what you expect.
Well, that's interesting, though, because the reality of deadline writing is you sort of look at this and think, what could this possibly mean to someone? And I was sort of trying to figure this out, and I kind of thought, well, this is full of experiments and ideas and anger and possibility. And this is full of dry, old, used-up anger and a lack of possibility and deracination, all that stuff. And in between them is this hilarious little procession of foibles and fictions and missteps and goofs. And to me, that sort of, trying to bookend this idea of in between these two anti-romantic moments, it's all this sort of farcical stuff. And I think the cue for that might be this really dubious self-portrait that's been posted here, this forward. When you have a moment, you have a look at it, it's very suspicious looking. Okay. Let's just quickly talk about these two things. Now, we're getting through here and around. This is
Luna is right here.
Jorgensen's work, right here. And this is just some of a really massive production of work dealing with tidal life. And, you know, it's interesting. When I was looking at these, and I guess trying to decide, we really had a lot of difficulty hanging them, trying to decide how they ought to hang, how they ought to present themselves on the wall. Because the thing is, they are actually, I mean, on the one hand, they look like little snapshots of kind of prettiness and pattern making. They're kind of this tie-dye color. They're really insistently flat because of the silk screen, so maybe in some cases they make you think of pattern making, psychedelia, but also the windows in aquariums. But the other thing I was thinking was actually they're persuasive. They're actually trying to get you to think like them, have this loose, fluid organization. And truthfully, they didn't look good in a regimented and conventional hang. They wanted to present this sort of peculiar alternative community when we put them up. It's just kind of one way of thinking about an art show. And Tyler's work here as well. This is Tyler Hodges, the tall fellow there in the orange shirt. This is kind of an interesting model for alternative community as well, as both promising and foiblesome. It is actually a model for a public sculpture proposal. And before, when Tyler had a show here, I was sort of trying to say something to the effect that, you know, when you make a model for public sculpture and it never gets built, it's guaranteed a utopian character. Because you can always say, this world would have been so much better if only that thing had been built. And then it can't be destroyed, it can't be torn down, and it can't be, you know, spat upon or anything. And so it has this kind of perfection, it's this little model, it's part of that model world. You know, on this pier, which is, you know, very Victorian, there's all these little crusty barnacles that look a bit like Monopoly houses cast in bronze. And then for this show, because he wanted to do something else other than just have it be this model, he put this living moss in it. And I think it's interesting, you know, the proposal had been for dockside green, which is things, these sort of model green environment. And I can't look at it without thinking of greenwashing on the one hand, but on the other hand, the way we always do keep thinking we can sort of form this, you know, grassroots kind of situation to the authentic community, and how fraught with sort of challenges that is. It's just this big clump of funny quiet house. I was also interested in the fact that when Tyler dropped it off, he called me later and said, "So you're going to water it, right?" Okay.
How often does it need to be watered?
So just a couple of more things. Is Rachel Evans here tonight? Rachel Evans here?
No, I haven't.
No,
Rachel
okay.
isn't here yet.
So Rachel Evans is not here, but she is planning on coming later to
And she
demonstrate.
has instructions as well on how to use it. You're going to
well,
demo.
Okay.
Demo while you talk.
She actually plans on doing a proper demo herself, including a performance. So I don't want to steal that thunder. But when you put these on, oh, thanks. I was sort of hoping you volunteered.
Yeah. I was sort of waiting for that.
When you put this on, you are a prey animal because you don't see normally straight ahead. You only see out through periscopes, which make you see the way a prey animal sees, and you're forced to assemble a worldview from these very divided focuses.
Now, how often have you heard a curator talk through a ear mouth?
It's really disarming. It makes you feel kind of sick and kind of vulnerable. As I understand it, though, with time, your mind will eventually adjust and accept this view as being ordinary. You'll be able to orchestrate an ordinary view out of it. And I guess, on the one hand, there's several different outlets for this. Rachel does work with injured wildlife through the SPCA and through Wild Art. So, on the one hand, she's very much in the mold of, say, a 19th century naturalist/artist. She works with animals, she draws renderings of birds' nests and deer habitats and so forth. But on the other hand, all scientific models engage an element of failure and romance. They're not accurate. They would be accurate, they would bring us closer to a subject, but often we actually embrace or romance the model rather than the thing that it refers to. So in a sense, scientific models do have this aspect of fantasy to them. So I was interested in that. And it was cagey to ask Rachel if she felt all right about this work being exhibited in the context of fantasy. And particularly, I think, next to this work, which is a really funny screenplay, Hinterland, Attack of the Dangerous and Friendly Animals melodrama. This was written by Camilla Picard, who couldn't be here tonight. She's based in Vancouver, but originally grew up in Victoria. And it's set in Victoria. This screenplay was actually written for this show, based on a dream that the writer had. And her sister has illustrated it. And it is absurdist. It's completely ridiculous. But it is about the perils of humans trying to behave like animals and animals trying to behave like humans. The fact that this is a terrible, dreadful collision course. Or humans trying to anthropomorphize animals. And the illustrations are by Camilla's sister, Rosie, and they have this kind of Edwardian vibe, which really goes back to the heyday of stories in which animals completely improbably took on human life. If you think about The Wind in the Willows, for instance, where you've got a frog driving a car, or a cart that's being pulled by oxes, and the frog is the leader of the oxes. This is kind of like Mickey Mouse having a dog. It's a very peculiar animal and human. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's kind of unreal, and we're trying to ask ourselves what animal attributes would be wished upon the human, and vice versa. And how that always starts as being a story about friendship, but it always implies a kind of domination too, which is a great little tagline to finish with.